Hey everybody, my name is Philip and I'm joined here with Sabrina, Isley, and Al, and we are here to celebrate World Penguin Day. Now to celebrate, we have brought our African penguin flock of 16 penguins down to the front of our exhibit here in Water's Edge, Africa at Cheyenne Mountain Zoo. And we are doing a little bit of a breakfast feed with a few different kinds of fish. Now our 16 African penguins all have very different personalities from one another, and that makes feedings always very fun. And because of that, we have provided them with a different range of fish to help us to make sure that everyone gets the type of food that they want to eat. Now you can see Ichabod here. He's our largest and oldest penguin. He's eating some smelt, and that's what we like to call penguin French fries, because I don't know about you guys, but that's pretty much what I look like when I sit in front of a plate of French fries. He's just going one after the other. You'll notice he's not chewing them at all, which is pretty impressive because Isley here is holding a herring, and that herring is pretty large. They'll swallow those herring entirely whole, as well as the capelin that we feed them. Now in the wild, they're gonna feed just like here on a variety of fish, and they might even eat other marine creatures that they find in the water. One threat to them is the fact that a lot of marine creatures like jellyfish that they might feed upon can frequently look like plastic. Now, if we put a plastic bag in the water and it's floating around, it's gonna look exactly like a jellyfish to a penguin, and that can be pretty confusing. And you can imagine, just like with us, if we ingest plastic, that is not good for us. It's the same thing for these African penguins. So pollution is definitely a threat to these endangered species in the wild. Another one would also be the overfishing of their food sources. You can see that right here we have Rico, who is going through quite an interesting experience. It's called a catastrophic molt. He is losing all of the feathers on his body in under 2 weeks and regrowing them. Now that takes a massive amount of energy, and during that time, he's got kind of a really interesting hairdo. He looks a little bit like Ebenezer Scrooge over here, but that can take quite a lot of energy. And so during that time, or before that time, he's gonna have to feed a lot on a variety of fish that he'll find in the water. And if he can't find fish to create that energy for this big molt, then that can pose a lot of problems for African penguins in the wild. Now, one way that we can help African penguins is keeping in mind that plastic in the ocean, like I said before, looks a lot like the things that they might feed on. So if we use reusable bags when we go to the grocery store, or really anytime, that will help to reduce the amount of plastic bags that eventually end up in the ocean. You guys can see that some of our penguins here are still feeding. Some of them are back there just sort of preening themselves. Some of them aren't too interested in breakfast, but they really just wanted to come out and enjoy the sun today. We have Mr. Napoleon here, who is one of our tiniest and most social penguins. He likes to run pretty much everywhere he goes. He's a very enthusiastic penguin. And you guys can see that we actually put on, hi buddy, hi. We put these tiny little bands on their wings to help us tell who is who. So when you guys come to the exhibit, you can also see their names on their wing bands, and that helps us to kind of identify which penguin is which and tell their story a little bit better as well. Now back here, we have Captain, who has joined Al as well. You guys might have met him out on the path. We do allow our penguins to come out on the path on occasion. But Captain here, he is also one of our most social penguins, and he's also a very investigative penguin. He likes pretty much any enrichment that we give them. Sometimes we'll give them little pool ball pit balls, or we'll give them bubbles, or just anything dangling from a string. And Captain is known to chase after things and basically use them like a tether ball. Now in the wild, these penguins, as I said before, do face quite a few different threats since they are an endangered species. And I'm sure you might have heard us talk about our conservation partners, SANCCOB, which stands for the Southern African Foundation for the Conservation of Coastal Birds. Now SANCCOB actually allowed 2 Cheyenne Mountain Zoo keepers to join them in 2019 to help raise some of their African penguin chicks that they had rescued from the wild. And what SANCCOB does is they'll monitor different colonies of African penguins. If they see that there's any chick that's been abandoned by their parents and might not make it, SANCCOB will intervene with one of their rangers who actually lives alongside these colonies. These rangers can collect this chick. SANCCOB will help to raise it back to health and raise it to a point where it can be released back into the wild, back to its original colony. And you can imagine that that has a pretty big impact on the survival rate and on the reproduction rate of wild African penguins. Now, from January of 2020 to December of 2020, SANCCOB actually released 124 African penguins back into the wild, which is a pretty incredible feat. And that is only made possible by your support of places like the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, who donated $3,000 last year and every year to help support these rangers who live on those islands alongside the African penguins. Your point of view right now is actually from the penguin pathway where guests walk as they make their way through the penguin exhibit here at Water's Edge. So you can get an idea of just how close and how intimate of an experience you can have with these African penguins when you come to visit us. A lot of our penguins are very curious and they're just as excited to see you as you are to see them. So chances are that when you stop by here, you'll see a penguin that's right up here at the mesh ready to greet you. Thanks for checking in with us for World Penguin Day. We hope to see you guys next time you stop by us here at Water's Edge Africa at Cheyenne Mountain Zoo.